All right, so now that you have a good understanding of what we are going to build here throughout the next videos, let's go ahead and open up a new Xcode project so that we can get started and start building out this app real quick. All right, so what I want you to do is create the new Xcode project like I just said, and let's create a single view application, and I'm going to call this Spots app. Okay, just because that's the name of the app. I kind of branded it as I was building it out, and I think that's a good name, right? It's like cool spots. You got Himalayas. I don't even think that picture is the Himalayas, but I just named it that. And then you got Tetons. This one actually is the Tetons. But yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and start building it, okay? So what I want you to do is get Xcode and just bring it up about this big and go into your view controller.swift, and let's just get rid of this comment and let's set the background color to yellow. And the thing is, if you were to compile this right now, I'll go ahead and I'll select my XR simulator, not my phone, and I'll build it, okay? So I just selected the simulator. And basically, if you're to compile this right now, it's just going to show a yellow background, okay? And the reason I'm doing this is because we're actually going to set things up from our appdelegate.swift. So we kind of just want that to be there so we know it's working, okay? So let's go ahead and let's say window in our appdelegate.swift. In the first function here, let's go ahead and say window is equal to UI window. And let's say window.makeKeyInvisible, and then let's say window.rootViewController is equal to viewController. Okay, so if you've never done this before, all this is really doing is it's basically making storyboards not part of our life, right? We don't want to use storyboards, so that's what I'm doing there. So go ahead and go back and pause that and get those 3 lines of code in if you missed that. But if you did get that in there, these 3 lines, basically, now we don't have to use storyboards. So we can go ahead and we can delete this storyboard file and move it to the trash. But if you were to compile it now, it would break. Okay, now the reason it would break is because in our info.plist, which I can't really zoom into, so we're kind of stuck at this font size in the info plist. I can't zoom it in for you guys. But basically, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to delete the main storyboard file base name. You want to delete that because it's basically saying, hey, we want storyboards, and there's no storyboard. So go ahead and delete that. And then if you compile your app now, it will work. Again, if you missed any of that, just go to the start of the video and just rewatch it. I promise you that it's super easy, and we'll be back to this, okay? So if you're here, great job. We're ready to start building it. Let's go ahead and now basically rename our view controller, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to call this, we can call it the same thing. We can call it view controller, but we want to use not UI view controller. We want to use UITableView controller. So go ahead and resubclass it to UI view controller or UITableView controller, not UI view controller. Okay. So we're good there. Now, if you recompile your app, and let's change this to .white. I want you to change that to .white. We don't want to use the yellow color. I just did that so we can kind of see that it was working. Because like one time in my app delegate, I didn't say view controller like that. I just instantiated a new view controller and it was like black. So, but I had no idea what was going on. So I always just put a color in. My view did load. Anyway, if you've done what I've done so far, you should have this on your app, right? You should have these lines. If you can't see the lines in the video for whatever reason, they're here, but there's lines in the app, okay? Because it's a table view. So let's go ahead and set some default values. Let's say setup table view. And the first thing I want to do is basically just create the function setup table view. And just to make things nice and clean, let's call this a file private function, just because we don't really want any file outside of this modifying it. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to register a basic UI table view cell. Now, if you're new to table views, basically what we're going to do here is just make it so that we can use table view cells in our table view. Don't worry too much about what this code does yet. I'll talk about it later on when we get to it. So let's say table view.register, and we're just going to say UI table view cell.self, and then the reuse identifier, I just want to put a constant called cell ID, which will go up to here to the top of our file, and we'll say file private cell ID is equal to cell ID, okay? And the reason I'm doing this is because we have to register it, and this has to be a let, let's say file private let cell ID. Basically, we have to register our cells, and then we have to dequeue them in our table view, and we're just doing this for the future, okay? So don't worry about too much about what this is. Just know that it works for now, and you will learn as we go throughout these videos, okay? So the next thing I want to do is I want to get rid of the separator style. Okay, so I'll say TableView.separatorStyle is equal to .none. And then I want you to set a property called TableView. Well, we don't need to do that yet, if at all. And then I'll say TableView.allows selection is equal to false. Because right now, what you're seeing are these lines, which we don't want, for one thing. And then also, if you click on it, well, you can't see it now, but I'll comment that out and I'll show you in the future why we need to get rid of that. So let's just comment those two out. We're going to uncomment them. So if you want to uncomment them now, you can, but I'm just going to comment them out later because it's kind of hard to show you why we're doing this right now, okay? I mean, same with registering it, but whatever. Okay, so next thing we really need to do is we need to kind of start using our table view methods, okay? So I want you to go down here and I want you to say, I believe the syntax is mark with a colon and then a dash like that. That should be good. And then basically now what we can do is we can use our table view functions. Okay, so I'll just do that later. We'll do that in a different video so I can double check when I'm done recording this one. Okay, so basically what we want to do is we want to say height for row at, and we just want to return like 80. And if you recompile your application, it's basically just going to increase that height between the cells, which is kind of what we want, right? So let's go ahead and wait for it. And you're going to see now that they're a little bit bigger, okay? So next thing we want to do is we want to add in our number of rows. Let's go ahead and just return 4 or 5, and that's just going to give us 5 table view cells. And then now let's just go ahead and say cell for row at, and basically this is going to give us a function where we can provide a cell for 5 of these rows, right? So let's say let cell is equal to table view .dq reusable cell with identifier, and we'll just say cell underscore ID, and then we'll say for index path, the one that we're provided here, and we should be good. Return the cell, and let's just say cell.text label (text) is equal to hello there, mate. And just if you missed any of that, I know I'm going fast, but I'm just trying to get this knowledge into your dome real quick. If that was too fast, just pause the video and get these functions in there. And basically just through practice, you're going to become better at this, okay? So don't expect to just understand all of this in this video because you definitely won't unless you're relatively experienced with table views. All right. So, and I don't mean that in a way like this is a bad video, go learn somewhere else. I mean it in a way like this is a great video, but you need to just keep practicing before you're going to understand it. All right. So this is what you should see on the screen if you've copied the same code as me. And basically you can see when we click it, there's this selection color, right? That little gray color, but we don't really want that in here because in my app, my completed app, when I click it, nothing really happens. And I might add more stuff to this and put it in a Udemy course or something like the Udemy courses in my description, some of which are free down there. But yeah, I'm going to add more stuff like force touch into this in the course perhaps. But basically what I'm getting at here is we don't want that, right? And that's where TableView.allows selection comes in. We want to set that to false and recompile our application. And you're going to notice that you can no longer do that, okay? And that's exactly what we want. Now you might want to do something like that in the future, but for now we want our app to be clean and we want to know exactly what we're doing. So we're setting it to false. Now let's go ahead and get rid of the separator style because you'll see that line. It might look fine to you, but we really don't want it because in the completed app, we don't have it, right? So we're not going to include that. All right. So that should be a good basic setup. Let's go ahead and continue coding right now because I want to add in a few more things, okay? So first thing I want to do is I want to kind of switch our number of rows and get this from data, right? So let's declare some data. Let's say file private, and we'll just say data is equal to, and then we'll just say, let's say just some strings, right? So we'll say, hey, and then there. Hey there, bro. Follow me on Twitter at maxcodes1. Go follow me, man. I want you to follow me, bros and girls. Anyway, yeah, that's our data, and we have to make this, I don't know why, but for some reason, whenever I write file private, I always forget to say like let or var. I just always forget it because I'm like, that's enough typing. I don't want to type anything else. Just kidding. All right, so we're good there. Now we have these 4 items, right? Notice how this one's all in one item. So we have these 4 strings. So we don't want to return 5 cells, we want to return 4. So we can easily calculate this by just saying data.count. So we're just going to take the data and say .count. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to basically get the text out of there and put it into our text label. So I'm gonna get rid of this string right here, and I'm gonna say data at indexPath.row. And then I'm going to recompile my application. And what you'll see now is that it's getting the data out of here, like, hey there, bro, follow me on Twitter at maxcodes1, and it's putting it into our text label for our cells. And there's only 4 cells, okay? So that's how you can kind of set up this data. Now, the thing is, we need to set up the data in a way that provides multiple sections, right? Because right now, what we have is just strings. But what you'll see in the app is that we have these kind of multiple sections. We have these 3 specific sections, with 2 in the first one, 2 in the second one, and then in the last one, I only have like 1, right? So that's really what you would use a 2-dimensional array for. Now, the way we're going to be doing it is by creating a couple interesting structs, right? Some data structures. So what I want you to do is I want you to structure that all in this video, and I'm going to show you how to do that, okay? So let's go ahead and let's go up to the top of our application and let's declare a couple of these structs. Let's say struct, and we'll say cell data, and we'll say var title is string, and it's going to have an image, which is UI image. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to say struct section data, and we're going to say var open is bool, and then we'll say var data is of type cell data. Okay, now just take a breath because this is probably really confusing. Let me explain it, okay? So we have our section data, which is a struct. Think of it as a class, but it's a little bit simpler, right? We don't have all these methods in it. We just have data in it, right? Some strings, booleans, stuff like that, other structs. It's just simple types. That's what a struct is. All right, now think about this. We have this variable called open. What this is doing is it's going to do is it's going to allow us to keep track of whether or not this section's open so that we can display it as open to the user or not. Basically showing the data and changing the title up here on the header title. So that's what that is. Now data, it contains cell data, which we declared up here. It contains a title and an image. So you can think of each one of these cell datas, this is an array, each one of these cell datas is one of the rows, okay? It's one of our cells. So that's what will go into each one of these cards. Okay, so that's our data structures. Let's go ahead and replace our data now right here with some structures, basically with some instantiated data structs we've just made, right? None of that made sense, but basically we're going to do it right here, okay? Just follow along. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to basically get rid of these strings right here, okay? And what we're going to do is keep it as an array, but now we're going to declare it, the data, as a type, and we'll call this sections, and then we'll say that the type is of section data, okay? Now, before Xcode starts freaking out at us because we have some code down here that's trying to use a variable called data, let's just go ahead and return 0 instead of data.count. Or what we'll do is we'll comment it out and we'll return 0 just so we can kind of talk about it once we get to it. And then right here, we'll just comment that out. Okay, so just comment those things out and return 0 in the number of rows in section. All right, let's come back up here and let's start structuring our data. So what we need to do is we need to say, okay, each one of these is going to have a section data. So each one of these basically structs, section data instances, is going to be one of our sections. So let me show you in the completed app. Each one of these section data objects is one of these kind of open close things with our data in it, right? It's one of these tabs with the data. Okay. Now, again, we have to keep track whether or not it's open or closed. So by default, we're going to say it's open. And then in cell data, we just need to provide the image data and the titles, right? So for example, this last one, I'll start with 1. We're just going to have like this image, and then we're going to have like the title max codes. And then the subtitle, this series will show you how to build drop-down spots app. Don't worry about that. That's something we're just going to hard code in. We can add that in later if we want. Yeah. Okay. So cell data. What we want to do is we want to create this array because we're going to have more, right? There's a chance we have 2 in here. Okay. So that's an array. So let's go ahead and kind of separate things out so it's a little clearer. It's kind of hard to make this clearer. If this was JavaScript, it'd be a little clearer, but it's whatever. Okay, so we have section data, has open to true, and then we have our data array of cell data. So let's declare some cell data objects here. The title, I'll put the first one as Twitter. Or I'll just say like Twitter at maxcodes1. because I want you to follow me on freaking Twitter, right? So go ahead and set that and follow me on Twitter and say what up. And then for UI image, we're going to need some images, okay? So let's go ahead and let's say UI image, and then we'll say named, and I'm just going to say 1 or 0, right? I'm just going to say 0. And what I want you to do is I want you to go to unsplash.com. Okay, so go to unsplash.com and get some images, okay? This is like the best freaking site in the world. You could even go to unsplash.com/maxcodes or @maxcodes if you want. I don't have the greatest photos, but I mean, if you want to follow me, you can. I don't really care though. But there are some nice photos in here, okay? So I want you to download like 3 of your favorite, and we'll just use those, okay? So I'm going to get like one of these. I think this one's pretty slick. I'm going to download that one. And then I'm just going to click architecture and download a couple over here, I guess. 2. And I'll get a different one. Not that. How about... That one's clean. Okay, so it doesn't matter what pictures you get. Just make sure you get 3 pictures, okay? And then open it up in your Finder, and you can see that I've already got 3 right here. But basically, what you want to do is you want to grab those 3, and I'll just use the same 3 because I have them right here. Well, I'll put them on my desktop, and then I'll rename these because I want to use different pictures. Basically, you want to rename your pictures to 0, 1, and 2. And what you want to do now is drag those images into your assets. So drag these images in here so that we have access to them, okay? I think that's pretty straightforward. I mean, if you're really not understanding what I'm saying, just just rewatch the video or something. Click back and watch again because I'm trying to explain it as clear as I can. All right, so basically you'll see now in our assets, we have our pictures, and then in here we have UI image named. We just have to force unwrap this. So put not a question mark, but an exclamation point after this, and that will declare our image. Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to put a comma and basically just copy this. We're going to put another one, right? So we're going to have 2. I'm just going to say, I don't know, Instagram or Udemy. And my name on, I guess I can't use Udemy. It doesn't really work. I'll just say Instagram, and I'll say @maxcodes.io. I have 2 accounts, maxcodes and maxcodes.io on Instagram. One's my personal account, which you can follow me on. I just don't post about, well, I actually do post a lot about code stuff on my story, but not on the actual posts. I post cool pictures because I like photography to a degree. Okay, but basically, without talking about that too much, you can see what I'm doing here, okay? I'm just putting in multiple cell data. I actually don't want 3. I want 2. And then that's our first section, right? Let's go ahead and copy this and put another one. And it's still going to be true, but then let's get rid of this. So we only have 1, and I'll just say something like, I don't know, what's another platform I want you guys to follow me on? How about, I want you to like Max Codes on LinkedIn. So @maxcodes, just, yeah, like my junk on LinkedIn, please. I have like 1 follower and I think it's me. Anyway, that's where we're at. Okay. So get this data in there, and we're ready to go, okay? So no, this is obviously going to create some problems in our app. If we recompile our application, you're gonna see that it doesn't really have anything because we're returning 0 cells, and then even if we were returning cells, it's not really gonna be putting text anywhere, okay? So what we need to do is we need to kind of think about our rows and number of sections. So let's introduce another method called number of sections, and let's just return, okay, we have to override it real quick. Put override in front of it. And we have to return the sections data. Did we name it with a capital S? Oh, we just called it sections. Just return sections.count, okay? Because obviously those are our sections. We're gonna have to return that number of sections. Now, our number of rows is a different story, okay? It's a little bit more complex. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. And instead of returning data.count, let's just return sections at section dot data.count. Okay, so let me explain this. We're taking our sections, we're picking a section, it's either this first one or this second one, and then we're getting the data, and counting how many are in the data, and then we're returning that, okay? So it's either 2 or 1 in this case. We have 2 cell data here, and we have 1 cell data here, okay? So in here, when it reaches this method, with whatever section we're in, keep in mind, whatever number of rows in section, whatever section we're in, either this top one, or this second one, or this last one, we're gonna be returning a number of rows. So within our section data, we're choosing how many rows are in the data, which is 2 and 1. So when it reaches this method, it's going to return 2 and then 1, 2 and then 1, okay? It's a little different than the completed app, but you get the point. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to basically get the data out and put it inside of our cell. So let's uncomment this, and then let's get rid of that, and then let's declare a section. So we'll say let section is equal to sections at, and we'll say index path dot section, and that's our section. Now we can get the text out by just saying section at index path dot row dot, section dot data at index path dot row. Okay, and that's going to give us our cell data. Now we can say dot title. Okay, so go ahead and recompile your application, and let's just give it a second, and you're going to see what is on the screen. Now, while that's loading, I just want to ask you all, do you prefer like big videos like this, or do you prefer like chopped up 10 video series on here in a playlist? Because I genuinely don't know which ones to do. I don't know if I should make it a really long video or like 10 little videos, because I feel like I might lose people on the 10 video series. Like they might not go to the next video. I don't know. Just let me know in the comments. And I'm not just fishing for comments. I genuinely just want to know like what you'd prefer, long videos or pieces. Okay. So you'll see now that we have it, and that looks great. Now, I believe image view or default UITableView cells have an image view on it. So let's go ahead and try saying cell.imageView, and let's just say .image is equal to, and I'm going to say section.data at indexpath.row.image. I just want to see if that works, okay? And if it does, it's not going to look great, but I just want to see if it works, okay? Genuine curiosity. This has nothing to do with our project, really. Okay, so you should see, awesome. So that's cool, but obviously we want to go away from that. We don't want to be seeing that, okay? So ideally, what's going on here is we have two sections, okay? The first section has 2, and the last section has 1. We want to be able to open and close it. So the next step in kind of getting this to where we want it is providing section headers. So let's override another method, and let's just say view for header in section, and we're going to create a button that we can click, right, or press or tap or whatever you want to say. So we'll say let button is equal to UI button, and this is going to be basically just be a UI button, and we'll apply some properties to it real quick, okay? So what I want you to do is first set a tag, which I'll talk about later, and we'll set that equal to section. And that's basically just going to tell us what section it is. It's either 0, it's either the first section or the second section, okay? And that's going to help us when we click the button, whether like it's going to tell us which one we want to open and close, okay? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to say tab.set, button, I don't know why I said tab, button.set title. And this title is going to be closed by default because it's going to be open by default, remember? Open true. So we're going to have to close it by default. And then we're just going to say .normal here, and then we're going to say that the background color is equal to .white, and then let's just say button.set title color is to .black, and then .normal, and we can put that up next to our set title so it makes a little more sense. Okay, cool. And then now what we want to do is we want to basically set a target to a function we can call. So let's say button.addTarget, and we'll say self, and we'll say hashtag selector self dot, and we'll just say open section, and then we're just going to say for dot touch up inside, and then we're going to return the button, okay? So a lot of code. Go ahead and pause it and get that in there. And then now what I want you to do is I want you to basically create this function because we don't have it. So right below it, we'll say add Objective-C func, and we'll say file private func, and we'll say open section. And then what I want you to do is I want you to take the button in as a parameter. That's how targets work. So we'll say button, and we'll say this is of type UI button. And basically all we're going to do here is we're going to take in the button, and we're going to take the tag off. Okay, so if the tag is either 0 or 1 or 2, we're going to take that tag and we're basically going to open up the correct section based on that tag. Okay, well, basically what we're doing is we're going to set the value of open to either true or false, and this tag is going to help us realize which kind of section we clicked on, so we know which one to switch to true or false. Okay, so let's go ahead and compile our application. Just make sure that this view for header is working. Make sure we have our header for each section in there, and you're going to see a little bit better how each cell belongs to its own section, and specifically how two belong to one section. Okay, you see how close has these two, and then this close only has one, because in the first section data we have 2, and the second section data we only have 1. Okay, so that kind of makes sense. I really hope that makes sense. Just pause it and kind of look at this and that, and you'll understand. Okay, so we're Gucci to go there. What we need to do now is we need to create our custom cell. Okay, wow, this is a lot. This is gonna be a huge video. That's what I meant. I didn't swear. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to go up here and I want you to create a new class. Let's say class, and we'll just say card cell is of type UI card cell. Sorry, what the freak? UI table view cell. And then what we're going to do in here is we're just going to write our initializer, and then we're going to say super.init, and we're just going to fill it out. We're going to choose this one, and we're going to say style, and then we're going to say reuse identifier is reuse identifier. And then what we're going to do is we're basically going to be told that we need we need it, a required initializer. I was thinking that might only be for custom base UI views, but that doesn't make any sense, so whatever. All right, so we have our custom cell. Now what we need to do is we need to basically register this instead of UITableView cell. So let's copy the name card cell, and let's scroll down here, and where we're registering our table view cell, let's just paste it over that instead of UITableView cell. And then what I want you to do is scroll down here, and we need to cast it. Okay, so on line 95, we need to say let cell is equal to tableview.dequeue reusable cell, except for at the end we'll say as exclamation point or bang or whatever the junk you want to call it, and we'll paste that card cell in there. So we're basically just saying, hey, this cell is indeed of type card cell. And the power this gives us is it basically allows us to do whatever we want inside a card cell in our table view. So with that being said, what we need to do is we need to set our cell data. Okay, so let me talk about this a little bit. Let's type it out and then we'll talk about it. So we'll say var, and we'll say data is of type cell data. And that's going to be a optional because it might not be there. And we'll say did set. And then basically what's going to happen is we're going to get our data, but we don't know if it exists. So we need to unwrap it with a guard let. So let's say guard let data is equal to data else return. Next thing we'll do is we're basically going to be able to set our image and our text. So if you remember, data has a title and an image in it. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to create an image view and a title label in which we can apply that data to. Okay, so before we get into that, let's scroll down here and let's look at this. Okay, so right now we're just saying cell.text label and image view is equal to the data, right? What we need to do is we need to not do that, and we need to just say cell.data, because we just created this variable of cell data. Notice how it's cell data, we just created that, is equal to section. Okay, so really we should call this like section or something if we wanted to, and I should do that to make it more clear. So we'll say cell.section is equal to section. So well, that doesn't make any sense. We need to say section and then say .data at indexPath.row. Okay, because we're getting the data. We don't want to set the whole section in each one of these. We just want to set the data of the section into that cell. Okay, so that basically will allow us to have our title and our image, except for we're not just pulling it out here and setting it on the default table view cell. We're putting it all inside of here so that we can use it on our custom cell and our custom views. So let's go ahead and get those views on there, and then we'll do that. So let's just compile the app, make sure everything's working. And then next thing I want you to do is I want you to start typing out the feature image view. And basically the feature image view is very clearly just the image view. Okay, and you'll see that there's nothing on the screen because we took out the text that we were setting here, okay, and the image. Okay, but basically the feature image view is this image view, okay? And then we're gonna have a title label, and then we will add in this bottom label, except for that's not gonna have its own custom data. It's just gonna have some hard-coded data in it, because if you're able to get that far in the video, then you should be able to add some custom data into cell data, like a description or something, and do that by yourself. Like, there's no reason I should show you that, because you should be able to figure that out once you're done with the video. All right, let me just stretch a bit. Freak, this is a long video. This sucks. Let me check how long this is. 18 minutes already. Jeez, what is this? This is like freaking high school all over again, sitting freaking hour and a half classes. All right, anyway, what I want you to do is type out the feature image view. So we're going to say file private var feature image, and then we're going to say is of type UITableView, and then we're just going to set that equal to basically a function that's going to call itself immediately. And we're going to say let IV is equal to UITableView, and then we're going to return the IV. And then we'll say iv.content_mode is equal to .scale aspect fill. And what this is going to do is it's basically just going to allow us to fill up our container and have it still look good. I'll comment that out and we can uncomment it later so you can see exactly what I'm saying. Now, these next two lines are going to be pretty obvious. iv.layer.masks to bounds. Okay, maybe that one's not too obvious. But basically, if we set this, it's going to allow us to use a corner radius. So we'll say iv.layer.corner radius is equal to 2. Now the corner radius is probably pretty obvious. It's literally just making a little rounder on the edges. Okay, so what I want you to do now is I want you to set this property called iv.translates auto resizing mask into constraints is equal to false. And basically I honestly have no way to explain this, but basically like I don't know why you have to set that, but it is going to allow us to use auto layout programmatically with NSLayout constraint. So just know that if you're ever using NSLayout constraint for programmatic auto layout instead of frames or storyboards, then you're going to have to set that on your properties. Okay, that's why it's good to write a function that automatically does it when you apply constraints, like Bryant does over in his channel, Build That App. All right, so we have our feature image view. Now what we need to do is have our title label. So let's go ahead and write that out. We'll say file private var, and we'll say title label is of type UI label, and we'll set this equal to a function again. And we're basically just going to say, these are straightforward, so I'll just type them out. We'll say let label is equal to UI label. And the next thing we'll do is we'll say label.font is equal to UI font.system font of size. And we're going to say 16 with a weight of medium. And then pause it and get it in there. I know I'm hustling because I'm trying to make this video not 10 hours long. But basically, we're going to say label.textcolor is equal to .black. And then this one, again, we're going to have to say label.translates auto resizing mask into constraints is equal to false, so that we can essentially get that in there, right? So that we can use, that didn't make sense, but so we can use NSLayout constraint for programmatic auto layout. Okay, that's why we're putting that. All right, so that's it for the label. Now, we should be good. Basically, we'll add in the bottom one later because we don't need to add that in yet. And what I want you to do is I want you to basically, let's set the corner radius of the content view. So we'll say content view dot layer dot corner radius is equal to 2. And then we'll say background is equal to dot clear. And then we'll say content view dot background is equal to dot white. Now I'll explain this all later. Let's just go ahead and compile this and see what the junk is going on, because I'm sure it's going to be a little out of control. Well, actually, it's not going to really look like anything because we haven't really set any of these. And we don't want to say background. We want to say background color. Okay, is equal to dot clear. Okay, so recompile that, and it's probably going to be blank. Well, actually, it most definitely will be blank because we didn't add anything into the subview. So what we need to do is we need to actually apply some auto layout constraints. So what I want you to do is say setup UI, and then we'll write this function below by saying at file private, not at file private, but just file private. And we'll say func setup UI. And then in this function, what we're going to do is we're just going to say content view dot add subview, and we'll say, what the freak, add subview, and we'll say feature image. And then we'll say content view dot add subview is title label. And then I just realized y'all are going to be so shocked. Like, that I'm just uploading this huge video out of nowhere when I've never done this really before. Anyway, let's continue. Okay, so we'll say background. Actually, we already did that. All right, next thing we'll do is, this is like gonna be a really long video because I just realized I gotta type out all the auto layout constraints and this is gonna take forever. All right, whatever. Dang it, dude. This is gonna take forever. All right, whatever. Let's do it. Let's do this, guys. We got this. We got this. It's all good. We got this. Holy freak, this is gonna take forever because we still have to animate everything too. I wonder if anybody's even gonna finish watching this. Freak. All right, whatever. That's good. Yeah, let's just set some constraints. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna say, we're just gonna freak. I'm gonna have to cut the video short, but let's go ahead and recompile the application and just see what it looks like. All right, so it shouldn't really look like anything. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to set the data. So let's just say feature image dot, and we're gonna say image is equal to UI image. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take out that name again. So we're gonna say data dot image, and then we'll put an exclamation point to kind of use it, cast it, right? Force cast it. And then let's see, why did it do that? Oh, I guess we already have the image. So all we have to do is say data dot image. And then now what we'll do is we'll say title label dot text is equal to data dot title. Okay. Now reload your app and you should at least see some text. I don't know if the image is going to show up because we don't have any constraints or frame on it. All right. I guess the title didn't show either. So what we need to do is we need to basically give it some constraints so that it can actually show on the view. So what I want you to do is I want you to say, we'll say feature image dot height anchor dot constraint is equal to constant, and we'll say 140 by default dot is active is true, and this is NSLayout constraint programmatic auto layout. And we'll say feature image dot left anchor, no, we'll say top anchor dot constraint is equal to, and we'll say content view dot top anchor, and we'll say constant is 4, and then we'll say dot is active is true. And then that's just going to constrain it to the top of our cell. And then we'll just say feature image, I copied it and pasted it. We'll say feature image dot leading anchor dot constraint is equal to content view dot leading anchor, and then with a constant of 4. And then what I want you to do is copy that, and we'll do the same thing except for we're going to say trailing anchor. And then we're going to say trailing anchor here. And then the constant's going to be -4 because we have to pull it back from the right? So if you're confused on that, just keep doing it. You're going to understand it eventually. Okay, so that's good there. Let's go ahead and apply some constraints to our title label real quick, and then we'll recompile it, okay? So let's say title label dot top anchor dot constraint is equal to content view dot what is it going to be? No, we'll set it to feature image view, feature image dot bottom anchor, because we want to kind of constrain it to the bottom of the image, right? And then the constant's just going to be like 10 or something, and then we'll say dot is active is true. And then next thing we'll do is basically we want to do the same thing with the trailing and leading, so we'll just copy that and paste it, and then we're just going to say title label instead of feature image right there, instead of doing that twice, right? So that should be good. Now I want we don't need to apply a bottom anchor, so we should be good to that because of the way UI labels work. But let's go ahead and recompile that and see if something's working. If it's not, we'll put that bottom anchor on. Okay, so it's looking kind of good, but it doesn't look good, right? Now the reason is because of our content mode. So what we need to do is we need to go into our image view right here on line 34 and uncomment the content mode so that has scale aspect fill. And then if you recompile that, it should be good. Let's go ahead and try that. All right, that looks like absolute garbage. What's going on here? Oh, okay, I know what's going on. Basically, I mean, you can see it fix the images, but it didn't fix them all the way. Basically, what we need to do is return more height because we're trying to set an image view to 140, and then the height of our cell is only 80, which is clearly not gonna work. So let's just return like, let's return something like 240 maybe. Yeah, let's try 240. I think that's what I did in the original app. Recompile that junk, and let's see what the junk is junking, right? And also follow me on Twitter, right? Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that junk. For sure movement. All right. Basically, you can see it's looking pretty nice, right? It's not looking insanely great yet, though. So what we need to do is we need to finish up some styles, and then we need to actually animate it. That's really all we have to do. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to kind of constrain our cells within each other. Okay, so if that doesn't make sense, basically, I'll just show you how to do it. Okay, what we need to do is we need to go into our custom cell, and at the bottom here below setup UI, let's just write a method, override a method. We'll say override function layout subviews, lays out subviews, pretty explanatory, right? And what we need to do is say super.layout subviews. And then basically what's going to go on in here is we're going to, after everything's laid out on the screen, it's going to do it automatically. But after it's all laid out, we're going to take the content view frame and we're going to set it equal to the content view frame. You're like, what? But just hold up. Content view frame, and then we'll say inset by UI edge insets. So we're just going to take some UI edge insets and we're just basically going to inset our entire view a little bit. So we're going to say the top is going to be 10, the left will be a good 30, bottom 10, right 30. So we're basically just taking all of our cells and we're constraining them, we're pulling them in a bit, right? So we're saying, hey, we need a padding of 10 on top, 30 left, bottom 10, right 30. And you'll see it pulls it all in, okay? Now that looks great and things are looking really good, except for it's kind of hard to see these cells because we don't have a background color that's different than the content view background color. But as soon as we add in a color to that, it's gonna look really good. So what I want you to do is I want you to go into, let's see, where do we want to go? We want to go, oh yeah, let's just go to view did load. And instead of saying background color is white, let's say UI, no, that doesn't work. What we need to do is we need to set the, background color of something to a subtle kind of gray color, right? So let's do it to here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to say UI color.init, right? Because we're going to initialize a new UI color that doesn't exist. And we're going to say red, that initializer with all the options, red, green, blue. And we'll say 228 out of 255. And then we'll say 230 out of 255. And then we'll say blue is 234 out of 255. And then the alpha is going to be 1. Go ahead and set that. And you're going to see that you can actually see some coolness in our application. I really did just say coolness. I really do be that way sometimes. All right, basically you can see what's going on here. It looks really good. So let me just go ahead and flip over to the completed app and see what it looks like. Okay, so one thing I noticed is we need to add in a UI navigation controller, okay? Because you'll see the top, it looks kind of weird compared to this. We need to get that spots in. So what I need you to do is go into app delegate, and instead of saying view controller, let's get rid of that. And let's say UI navigation controller, and we'll set that equal to this bottom one with the root view controller initializer, and we'll paste UI view controller in there, or view controller. Okay, so that's gonna give us our navigation controller, but it's not gonna give us our title. So go ahead, pause the video, get this line in there, and then let's go over to viewcontroller.swift, and we need to set the title. Because you'll see we have that top in, but we don't have the title. So we need to say navigation item in our viewcontroller.swift. Dot title is equal to spots. Okay, now if you recompile your application, it's gonna look a bit better. Now while that's loading, I'm gonna check out this one. Okay, so it'll look pretty much exactly like this. Okay, so testing 1, 2, 3. All right, sweet. So it's looking very close. We just have to add in a couple more things, okay? We need to add in our animation and our text view. So let's just go ahead and get the text view in there now, just because it'll take just a second and it'll make it look so much better. So what I want you to do is I want you to go into here on line 49 and just say file private var info text is of UI text view. And we're gonna set that equal to basically a function that's gonna call itself. And we'll say let info text is equal to a UI text view. And then we're gonna return the info text. And then we're gonna say info text dot font is equal to UI font dot system font. And it's basically just gonna be 12 and then dot light because we want it a little bit lighter than the title. And then I even want to set the title down to like 15, to be honest. I think that looks a little big in there. Maybe it's the caps, I don't know. All right, so that's good. My neck's getting stiff, man. I've been here for like an hour. All right, now what we're gonna do, like 45 minutes, I don't know. I stopped recording this video like 10 minutes in because I thought I was gonna break it up into multiple videos, and then I'm like, no, I got this. I'm gonna do it all in one video. And then I'm like, oh shoot, I regret this. All right, if anybody's even watching at this point, comment if you are, because I don't think anybody's gonna make it this far. All right, so we're gonna say info text, and we'll say dot translates auto resizing mask. Obviously we want to do that, and then we want to say info text dot text color is equal to dot black, and then we'll say info text dot is editable is equal to false. And the reason we're doing this is because it's by default a text view is editable, and you can like change the text in it. So we don't want that. It's like a UI text field basically, but you can't just use a UI label for multiple lines like this. Actually, you probably freaking can, but you used to not be able to in earlier versions. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna say, actually, I think that's it. Let's put some text in though. Let's say info text dot text is equal to, and we'll say follow your boy at maxcodes1 on Twitter. Damn it, just kidding. I didn't say that. All right, dang it. All right, next thing we're gonna do is, can you swear on YouTube? I mean, like PewDiePie does, but I don't. I swear you can get flagged for that junk. Well, if you got offended by that, then I'm sorry. I will remove it if you tell me. All right. Anyway, without losing my mind any further in this long video, let's go ahead and let's basically put our text view on the screen right below our label. Okay. So let's switch over to our application. And okay, we have it perfectly set, so we can do that. What I want you to do is I want you to basically just copy these, because we want those to be the same. And we'll say info text. Except for now, we need a top anchor, so let's copy the top anchor too. And what I want you to do is I want you to say info text dot top anchor is actually equal to the title label dot bottom anchor. And we're going to set the constant to... that's a curious one. I don't know. 2. We don't want it to be too much, right? Well, no pun intended. 2. All right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to set the bottom anchor. So it doesn't work unless you set the bottom anchor, I'm pretty sure. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy that, put it at the bottom here. And then what we'll do is we'll say bottom anchor is equal to the content view dot bottom anchor. And the constant is actually going to be 0. -8 actually. And let's hope this works. Okay. Oh, we got to add it to the subview. Holy crap. We're about to get a crash. I was about to cry. Info text. Okay. Recompile your application and let's see what the junk is going on. All right. So go ahead and reload your app and you're going to see some beautiful stuff on here. Okay. So it looks pretty good, except for I want to change the text because it just looks so bad with that at max codes and everything. So I'm just going to say, follow your boy, maxcodes1. I'm just going to say maxcodes on all platforms known to man, even Vero. Because I actually am on Vero, but I don't think anybody uses that. And no, this is not sponsored. Vero, you really think Vero has any money to sponsor? No, they don't. All right, so save that, and that looks pretty good. Okay, except for our text labels kind of really not in a good place, right? What we want to do is we want it to actually be, moreover, right? So what we'll do is we'll go to our title label right here and we'll say that the constant is like 8. Dang, really? Does it not look like that in this? Huh, that's really strange. Maybe I used more text than that. All right, maybe whatever. All right, so that looks good, except for we want it to all be capitalized. So what I want you to do is I want you to go up here to line like 28-ish, and let's just say title label.text is equal to data.title, and we'll say dot uppercased, okay? Because I want it to be uppercased, so it looks a little better. And then if you want to get rid of like all those ats, you can, because I feel like it looks kind of bad in there, but that's just me. All right, so we just got to do one more thing, and that's basically just the animations, right? And that's probably the hardest part. So let's just go ahead. This is going to be like an hour-long video. Freak, man. So let's go ahead and add in those animations. And I'm not going to explain it all too much as we go on. Freak, we have to do all this. We got to like make it so that it animates, and we have to like insert and remove the cells based on clicking on things. Okay, I'm probably gonna, like, if this video gets bad, like downlikes and junk, I'm gonna delete it and re-record it, because I'm beginning to answer my own question, which is like whether like, do I put up multiple videos or one video? Because I'm realizing now that I need to put up multiple videos, because this is going to be freaking way too long, and me just saying it's going to be way long is probably what's contributing to like half the time. It's like half this video is me just saying it's long. Anyway, what I want you to do is I want you to basically what we need to do is we need to fill out our open section. Okay, so let's go to open section on line 158. Dang, we've written a freaking million lines of code. And we need to say let section is equal to button.tag. So we're basically just taking the tag out of here when we click on it. So say we click on that, it's going to say 1. If we click on that, it's going to say 0, since array start at 0. I hate having to explain that array start at 0. Like, I just wish that it was a known thing, or I wish arrays didn't start at 0, because it's easily one of the most trippy things at first. But if you're freaking this far in this video, you're not a beginner. All right. So what we need to do is we need to basically choose the index paths we want to close and open. So let's say var index paths is equal to, and we'll declare index path like that. And then we'll just say for row in sections at section data indices, read that, indices, the indices that are valid for the subscripting collection in ascending order. We'll say print 0 row, so we're just going to see each one, and then we're going to get that index path and create it. Like so. And then this is just going to have to be one of these, like, let's say row section, and we're going to say row, and then we're going to say section, and then we're just going to add it to our index path. So we'll say index paths dot append, and then we're just going to put that new index path on, and that's Gucci to go. All right. Next thing we need to do is go down here and just say let open is equal to sections at section dot open, and this is just going to give us basically the one we clicked on's value of open. So if we click on this top one, it's going to give us this one, right? If we click on the bottom one, it's going to give us that one. And we basically just need to swap it and then basically animate it based on whether or not it's open. So we'll say sections at section dot open is equal to not open. So we're just swapping the value, okay? And then now what we need to do is switch the button, okay? Okay, so open's a let constant. Oh, var. Wait, what? Because then we're switching that. All right, I guess that's actually right. Nah. What we need to do is hit this and hit fix. What the freak? Let's go. It's not a constant, it's a var. Let's go down here to var section data. All right, I guess it's just tripping balls. All right, so we're good there. Let's go ahead and say button.set title. We need to change the title. If it's open, we want to say open. If it's closed, we want to say close, like if we're closing it. And then for the control state, we'll just say normal, like always. And then we're going to say, okay, if it's open, if we're wanting to open it, then we'll say table view dot delete rows at the index paths we just kind of conglomerated together. And then we'll say dot with fade. And then if it's closing, we'll basically do the same thing. Wait a second. Yeah. I guess it's if it's opening. Freak. I got to make this into multiple videos, not just one. Insert rows at index paths with .fade, and that should be good. Let's go ahead and recompile our application and see what's going on, and then we will write our animation and then finally be done. This is gonna be like our 20-minute video, maybe like just an hour. It's probably gonna be like an hour and 10 minutes. All right, hit close, and it looks like we may have gotten an error. Oh shoot, we did. All right, let's scroll up. And basically it's just saying, hey, what the junk is going on? You can't do that. So let's put this down and let's go read our code and just see what's going on. So we have this and it's not really working, right? So we're trying to hit this button and switch everything, and it's not allowing us to, okay? So section is button.tag index paths. For row and sections, data.indices, print row. Let index path is row, section. Index paths append, okay. Sections at section dot open. All right. Delete rows, insert rows. All right, I see. All right, so that should be good though. What are we missing? I'm gonna comment that out and just recompile it and see what we get. All right, so obviously it's not gonna crash immediately, right? But let's change this. Variable open was mutated, but never mutated. Okay, that should just be a let. That doesn't matter though. That shouldn't affect anything. Let's recompile our application. Open, delete rows, index paths with fade. Let's go ahead and just click it one more time and read the error this time for real. Okay, so it's terminating. This is why you do multiple videos. All right, assertion failure, cell animations with context, terminating NS. Internal inconsistency, inconsistency exception, invalid update, invalid number of rows and sections. Okay, I think I found the error. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to not change anything in here, but we need to go and we gotta uncomment these. And what we need to do is we need to basically go to our number of rows and section method. I totally forgot about that. Okay, and we don't want to just return this. We want to say, okay, if it's not open, return 0. So let's say if not sections at index path. Sorry, at section dot open. If it's not open, then just return 0, okay? Reload the application, and we're now going to have it work, okay? And I will be re-recording this all, okay? I'm going to record it all into multiple videos. So if you just want to stop watching, you can. But yeah, you can see that that works really good. Now, I won't do the animation in this video. If that's what you were looking for, hit me up. I'm also going to be re-recording it like I just said, but for now, this is all we're doing, okay? Because I just slaughtered this entire video. But I'll see you all in the next video. See ya.